guys, this is Phil the MMA Dude, and we are back with episode 3 of the Split Decision podcast with my brilliant co-host, the Fight Geek. We have missed you guys, and I apologize first and foremost for my overly nasally voice. I already have a nasally voice, but I've been battling a bad cold. I'm going to find a way to power through it. And we've got a lot on the line today to discuss the Conor versus Khabib presser that just happened a few minutes ago. We've got the Jon Jones USADA ruling. We've got a Bellator 206 preview. We've got the UFC Sao Paulo card predictions, the Woodley Rap, and more. But Fight Geek, I'm going to start off with you. The Conor and Khabib presser just happened a few minutes ago. What are your thoughts to start this off?
Yeah, Conor versus Khabib, man. I'm glad it's finally here.
Right.
The build-up and the wait and the anticipation and kind of, for me, even the little things, kind of like what's Conor going to be wearing? What demeanor is he going to take? You know, who's going to be with Khabib? There was a lot of things I was paying attention to and excited to see. Not sure it quite hit the mark for me. I think it was intense. I think there's a lot to read on both sides there, but not sure it was the traditional raucous event with the crowd and the fans, and I thought it was pretty interesting that the first thing Conor addressed was the fact that he wanted the fans there. The fans were not allowed to be there, and he almost seemed as though he was a little perturbed by it. He was not happy that the UFC did not grant him that wish.
Oh, very
now
perturbed.
I understand.
Very.
Yeah, I understand that in New York he's dealing with some legal things, and you know, having a rowdy crowd there may not have been the best idea, but I think they really missed the ambiance of a Conor McGregor big fight feel with having the crowds there kind of going back and forth. I don't know. That was kind of my first impressions. Other than that, I thought it was very intense. I think Conor's digging deep. He's digging hard. He's doing everything he possibly can to really get a rise out of Khabib, get Khabib to get fired up in hopes that maybe that will translate into something like over-aggression, and then Conor can sleep him with that left hand. Other than that, I know there's been a lot of rumbling about how Conor looked. Maybe he wasn't as confident as normal, and the crowd may have played to his favor in the past, and he was stumbling on his words and stuff like that. Honestly, they both sounded incredibly confident. Khabib is going to be Khabib, and Conor was wound up. Conor's a alpha male, wound up. Obviously, may have been drinking a little too much whiskey beforehand. But
just a little.
Just a little. But hey, it's premium whiskey. He's in the whiskey game now. I'm going to try that myself.
It's clearly a good whiskey. It worked, right?
Everybody is kind of hating on the whiskey. I think it's an on-brand entrepreneurial venture for him. I think he's pushing it great. So with that being said, a lot to bust into. What'd you think of the press conference? First thoughts?
Well, you know, I think me and you have some respectful disagreements about the press conference, and let me just preface before I say anything. Let me preface my opinion of the press conference with this. I haven't really said this publicly before, but the truth is, I'm a big Conor fan, and I know that's super unpopular, uncool to say. I love Khabib too, by the way. The truth is, you know, I have immense respect for both fighters. I think they're both charismatic. I think they're both stars. But I'm rooting for Conor in this fight. And I say that because I think Conor really under-delivered. And I know you disagree there, and that's fine. I thought that Conor seemed like he had about 4 drinks too many. I thought he seemed very sloppy, very nervous, stumbling over his words.
But what is 4 drinks too many? Because we lift up someone like Michael Bisping, who comes into a press conference lighting someone up while he's had a few drinks or maybe hungover.
Sure.
And now all of a sudden we don't like it when Conor does it?
Well, sure. Yeah, no, that's a good point. I would say, I would counter with this. I think that I've never seen Conor look so uncomfortable, right? He's never stumbled over his words like he did.
Yeah, well, he's never been facing multiple lawsuits either, so he was being very careful with how hard he could push it and how physical he could be, and how, I mean, the guy's facing, I'm not exactly sure the charges, but it has something to do with assault. Yeah. So he has to be very careful about the way he directs what he's saying and his demeanor, because in the state he's currently having the press conference in, he's facing legal ramifications. So I think that probably had a play into his nervousness, because there was a couple times there where he was like, no comment, because he knew he really couldn't go further into something like that.
Right.
Yeah, so I think that may have played into his demeanor. I'm not saying it did. Obviously, the whiskey played into his demeanor. But the lawsuits are something he mentioned and maybe in play here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, much to your point, I think that you bring up a very good point and at least, sort of saying, no matter what, the way you want to look at this press conference, regardless, maybe Conor was too drunk, maybe he wasn't. The bottom line is, does it matter that much? And I agree. I don't know if it matters that much because let's be honest, if Conor beats Khabib, everyone's going to say this press conference was pure genius. Conor was working on the mental warfare. Then if he loses, he'll be mocked. So it's really, it's all about what happens in the fight.
Conor's going to be mocked when he loses, regardless of how he acts pre-fight. So that's coming anyways because of who he is. The haters are coming. The same way LeBron James's haters are coming. The same way Tiger Woods' haters are coming. There's people that love you and there's people that hate you. That's coming.
Yes. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I would say this is the last thing I would say is, as an admitted Conor fan, and let the hate rain down on me, I would say that this was a little bit of an alarming performance from him. As a diehard Conor fan, I was a little alarmed. I thought he seemed a little off his game. I hope I'm wrong though.
Yeah, I didn't see that, man. I don't know. Maybe I'm the Conor homer who's looking at it through the rose-colored glasses because I thought he looked happy to be back. He was very clear about it. He's got all the money in the world. He's back because he wants to fight Khabib.
Yes.
And the lines about bouncing his head off the mat and all that stuff, that's classic Conor. That's the stuff I was there for. If you don't think Conor McGregor believes 1,000,000% that if Khabib stalks forward at him, he's not going to take that head off with a counter left, you're mistaken. Conor believes that 1,000,000%.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't say that. I said, but will his plan work? Fight Geek, will his plan work?
I believe this round one, yes, it did work. I think he was digging with some topics that are very beneath the surface, and when you're talking about someone else's father, it gets very personal. And the thing that struck me about Khabib is he kept saying October 6th, October 6th. What that means is every time he's saying that instead of coming at Conor, which means there's a build. Each time it's building. He stopped. There was one instance where Conor was mentioning, if you pull out of this fight, something worse will happen to you.
Yeah, I did like that.
Khabib stopped in his tracks and was like, well, why don't you tell me what that is? And he pushed it, and Conor dropped it with a smile. So if you don't think that Khabib Nurmagomedov, yeah, I went there, was getting frustrated in that moment and doesn't want to teach Conor McGregor a lesson unlike he's ever taught anyone a lesson before, you're sadly mistaken.
Okay, very fair. So let me ask you this question then, and that's very fair. I my overall take is that the press conference, it's sort of like political candidates for president with the debates. They don't matter, right? All that really matters is who wins on election day.
I was only there for Conor's suit in the face-off, personally.
Yep. So, okay, let me ask you this question though, Fight Geek. Did the press conference meet your expectations? Was it underwhelming, or did it surpass your expectations?
I would say status quo for a UFC press conference. It wasn't spectacular. What was spectacular was the individuals that were partaking in it. Other than that, there was nothing really spectacular about it.
Yeah. Do you agree with my take, which I made before the press conference, to be fair, that they made a big mistake by not bringing the public in? I feel they made a big mistake.
Yeah, I think they missed an opportunity there big time.
Yeah.
But again, because of the history with these two, I don't know if you noticed, but to my recollection, they don't yet generally have police officers on the stage during the face-offs, do they?
No, they don't.
Because that was very prevalent this time.
Yeah.
I noticed right away the police officers on the stage. So this one had a different feel to it. I don't know if that's going to play against Conor because Khabib is the more mellow guy, going to be more comfortable in a mellow atmosphere where you could see Conor kind of seem like a spaz in a mellow atmosphere. He needs the chaos, that kinetic energy that he taps into and he feeds off of. That is Conor. So you put him in an empty conference center or a ballroom or whatever that was, he falls a little flat because he doesn't have the surrounding ambiance that comes with his character.
Yep, I completely agree. I totally agree. I think that the fact that they didn't open it to the public was a huge hit for Conor and his fans. I think it really would have benefited him and his fans had they let it go public. But having
So
said
in
that,
synopsis, let me ask you one thing.
yeah.
Are you more or less interested in the fight after that?
Good question. Well, I told you this offline, but I did say, I mean, I would say I'm not more or less interested because honestly, I've never been more interested for an MMA fight ever, and that's saying a lot. But I will say this: I think that I'm very interested to watch the Vegas line on this fight after this press conference because I would guess, and I could be totally wrong, but I'd venture to guess that there's going to be some bets on Khabib after this press conference.
Yeah, man, that's I can't confirm that one way or another, but it will be interesting to look into.
Yeah, absolutely. So is there anything else you wanted to talk about the presser before we move on to the Jon Jones USADA ruling?
No, I think we covered it all there. Looking forward to seeing kind of how social media plays out between the two camps going forward. So something to keep an eye on. I'm sure this is the tamest and the earliest rendition of what we'll see between these two. I'm sure it'll be getting more heated all the way up until fight week. And let's all keep our fingers crossed that we get to see this epic matchup.
Absolutely, totally agree. I'm so excited. Like I said, couldn't be more excited. I've never been more excited for an MMA fight, and I've been watching for many years. So
with that said, let's go to something you're less excited about, and everybody who follows you on Twitter will know exactly what I'm talking about. The Jon Jones USADA ruling. He was facing 4 years originally, correct? Then it was 18 months.
Yeah.
He ends up with 15 time served, so he's actually ready to go again here pretty soon. Can be the main event of 230, which is the rumor, blah, blah, blah. So take it away, man.
Well, okay, Well, first and foremost, I think it's worth noting that at the press conference, Dana White was asked point blank, is Jon Jones going to be considered for the UFC 230 main event? And Dana White denied it. Now, I know that Dana's known for being a liar. I know.
Known for is an understatement.
I know, but this would, I mean, to me, this
if
would be...
If he says no, it generally means yes.
But, yeah, this would be a particularly egregious
Dana thinks he's, like, sly and can pull one on us. He's like, we don't understand that Jones is cleared in time for that. He thinks that he can keep it a secret and all of a sudden announce it fight week or a couple weeks before or something. Not saying it is, but Dana's not sly.
All right, okay, so I'm going to go out on a big limb here, and this could easily lead to humiliation and me being wrong, but that's how I like to play it. I'm a risk taker. I'm going to say the UFC 230 main event is Woodley versus Covington, everyone. You've heard it here first from Phil the MMA dude. Woodley, Covington, I bet Jones is not on the card. Am I wrong? Go, Fight Geek.
Well, I would not say you're wrong there. I think that's a very probable outcome. But we're talking about Jon Jones, and we're talking about USADA ruling. We're talking about Verdum's gone for 2 years. Machida missed time. Tom Lawler missed time.
Yep.
Barnett missed time. Anderson Silva missed time. Jon Jones is a multiple-time offender. I mean, would he even? What kind of fight does he deserve upon his return? I mean, still, even a fight with Gus is somewhat of a high-profile fight for him, where he's going to make a lot of money and be in a position to set himself up. If USADA's not going to punish him, does the UFC put him right back in a position to be a moneymaker? Obviously, they do. But yeah. I'm playing devil's advocate here. Like, let's make him face someone like number 9 on a co-main in a 3-rounder or something,
I mean, yeah, that's a very nice dream if there was real justice in this world. I mean, let's be honest. Dana would sell his own mother for, $250, so I think he's going to take advantage of Jon Jones being back.
At this point, what kind of appetite do you think the fan base, the MMA community, has for that Jones fight? Do you think Jones headlining a pay-per-view today can do 500,000 buys?
That is an amazingly good question, Fight Geek. See, this is why Fight Geek's my co-host. You see, this is the stuff. He's shining right now. Let him shine. He's shining. He's like a rainbow. You're like a rainbow, Fight Geek.
I appreciate it.
Like a rainbow on a rainy day. It's rainy. I'm looking for the rainbow. Where is it? There's Fight Geek. I see the rainbow.
Some people would call it no life. too much TV.
No, honestly though, that is an amazingly good question. What is John Jones's pay-per-view draw power post UFC 214, post this ruling? And you know what? My answer is, my guess, my wild guess is that it's around the same as before UFC 214.
Well, what was he before? Was he an 800,000?
7 to 900, 7 to
He is
950.
not drawing 700,000 when he comes back, unless
I hope not.
he fights DC or Lesnar. If you put him versus Gustafsson with Poirier and Diaz, I don't know if that even makes 700.
But I would, okay, so that's fair, but I would counter with this. I would say the rest of 230 is so stacked that will make up for it.
We have seen that stacked cards don't translate to huge pay-per-view numbers. What translate is Conor McGregor. No, I'm just kidding. But
no, you're right though.
What translate is something that mainstream audience can jump onto, and I'm not necessarily sure that the mainstream audience is going to jump on a multiple-time drug offender.
Well, hopefully not. I don't want to judge the MMA fan base. I know that there's a lot of Jones fans.
No, I don't either. I mean, it's hard to say. I see a lot of love both ways, and for the record, I am a John Jones fan.
Don't
I am
say that.
a Barry
That's
Bonds fan.
That's
I am
blasphemy.
a fan of people with checkered pasts.
I'm not.
I take it for what it's worth, and moving forward, you can only judge him on what we see from here on out. I firmly believe John Jones is going to beat every single person that is put in front of him for the rest of his career.
Okay, fair. That's very fair. I think that...
So if that were to happen, I know I'm just shooting from the hip here. If that happens, is there anything that would change your mind as far as his status?
I'm sorry, change my mind. If he wins every fight...
You are in the firm camp that Daniel Cormier is the greatest fighter of all time, correct?
I will give the title to GSP, respectfully. But okay. DC number 2.
So if John Jones were to come back and beat DC again
at heavyweight,
at heavyweight, sure, wherever they fight, if Jones is able to beat DC again, is that a fight you're willing to give him credit for?
Yes.
Or will he be forever stained?
Well, both. He'll be forever stained, and I'll give him credit for it.
Okay, so if John Jones were to beat DC post 2018, you would consider him the greatest fighter of all time?
With no drugs in his system?
Yes.
Okay. That's a big jump. But he hasn't done that in many a year.
I agree. But if he were to do it now, would it erase what has happened before?
I hear what you're saying. The answer, I hear what you're saying, and you're going to be frustrated by my answer, because my answer is yes and no. My answer is I will give him credit, but it doesn't erase.
That's MMA for you.
Yeah. No, but no, the truth is, honestly, as people know who follow me on Twitter, I hate John Jones, more than anyone in maybe the world. But listen, I have a ton of respect for him. And if he beats DC in a fair fight at heavyweight, hats off to him. And I'd have trouble not calling him the greatest of all time.
His resume is the greatest resume of all time. And that is not...
It is. It is.
Whether or not you believe he has all those victories 100% legit is another question. But if you just look at the paper and you look at what's on wax, what John Jones has done is ridiculous.
Yep, I agree. So when do you think Jones comes back then, and who's his opponent? Let me ask you that.
It's hard to say because I really don't know where they're going to go with him. Are they going to headline him? Are they going to co-headline him? I mean, what kind of reliability do we have with John Jones? I mean, he was supposed to fight Dan Henderson ages ago and scrapped a whole card. He hasn't made it to DC's fight twice, I believe. He has a no contest in one of the fights. So that's 3 null and void contests between him and DC. Basically, the Oven St. Preux fight, nobody cares about that performance. That was like a sparring match in between his 3-year suspension or whatever.
Although that was the one time when he appeared to be not on drugs, so that could be telling.
It may be telling. But when he was a young man coming up in the sport and waxing Hall of Famers, I don't believe he was on drugs. And I still don't believe he was on performance-enhancing drugs. I think there's a million reasons how something can become contaminated, especially when you're as naive as John Jones has been.
Okay, I'm trying to make sure this doesn't turn into a 1 hour giant world war debate.
Hey, no worries, man. We can
wait.
move on if you want. You can just take my side.
Hang on. Wait, you don't think though that Jones knowingly took steroids before 214?
I do not, because the findings, and I could be wrong, so hopefully no one will really go too hard on me. But I believe he passed 8 tests out of competition. He failed the one test that every fighter knows they will be taking. I'm a pretty I don't have these crazy theories in my head and think all these crazy things are going on, but that sounds more like malpractice on whoever was dealing with the samples part than on Johns' part, because it's 1 out of 8.
Okay.
It's not 7 out of 8. It's 1 out of 8.
Okay,
so
fair.
Right.
Yeah,
Go
that's
ahead.
fair. Okay, so let me just, and I don't want to spend too much time on this at all. So let me just hear your response to this, and then we'll move on. Here's what I don't get about USADA's ruling and how that works into Jones, didn't knowingly take something. So Jones says that he didn't knowingly take something, and that's what USADA said as well, right? So I agree there. But here's what doesn't add up there. Then USADA said, oh, and Jones got a reduced sentence because he cooperated and told us all about these other cheaters and or suppliers. Well, hold on. Those two things don't go together. Either you knowingly cheated and know the suppliers, or you didn't and you don't know shit. It can't be both. It doesn't make any fucking sense.
Well, if you've been reading between the lines lately, and I am purely speculating, there is absolutely nothing here but me connecting dots and listening to interviews and people talk. But Cowboy Cerrone was on the Joe Rogan podcast a few weeks ago talking about the wrestling coach over there, is a high school guy who peddles steroids. You don't think when you're on the largest podcast in the world announcing you have a PED pushing coach in a gym that USADA didn't stop by Albuquerque, New Mexico? You don't think they heard that through hearsay and looked into it? And who would they have by the balls to go after that person?
Sure, but why did John test positive?
That nobody knows.
Well, I think I know.
Well, of course you do.
But okay.
I personally have a theory on it too.
Share it. We're on live. Share it.
Well, I've read and heard some stories about, low-grade street drugs and how they're cut with many different things. And this is a topic for a different podcast. But John Jones, living in the region he lives in, probably can get his hands on some low-grade street drugs. And that's cut with all kinds of things.
Why is he taking low-grade street drugs? He just got fucking caught. How stupid is he? Why is he taking that shit?
Well, being stupid and knowingly taking a performance-enhancing drugs are two completely different things, and I think that's kind of the point.
They're related. I'd say they're related.
They may be. They may not be. USADA does not think they're related.
Fair enough. All right. I better not say anything more.
Yeah, let's wrap that up. And,
exactly.
Can get into picking some fights.
Bellator 206. First of all, let me start off with this, Fight Geek. Is Bellator 206 the greatest Bellator card in history or not? Tell me.
Yes.
Yes. Ooh. Go on.
I would have to say so. Especially in their modern history, in the Scott Coker era, what they're bringing, obviously, I'm just going to jump right in. We've already touched on Rory versus Mousasi in the past. Two classic martial artists that we've seen coming for a long time. We know these guys. We've seen these guys. We respect these guys. And they both wanted to fight each other. There's been no semantics. There's been no politics. There's been nothing. Rory wanted to fight. Mousasi wanted to fight. We're going to get a fight.
Yeah.
So with that said, I'm still leaning Mousasi. I'm going to take Mousasi in this fight. I think that there's the experience with the larger weight classes, with the larger men, and I just think that will be the difference in him winning a decision over Rory McDonald.
Okay, so you've got Mousasi by unanimous decision or split decision?
I would say I could see it either way, but probably split decision because I think Rory will have the opportunity to win a round on his feet, especially the first round. I think Mousasi is generally a slow starter. I don't know if that's just because he looks like he's sleeping that I perceive that, but he's been caught early by guys and usually comes on a little later. And Rory comes out very crisp, working his jab with his footwork, and he kind of changes levels, and he's got good head movement and things like that. So if Rory's going to win and get control of the fight, I believe it'll be round one. But I do think that Mousasi will settle in and win the later rounds.
Very fair, very fair. Okay, so me and you disagree on this. I love it. So I think it's going to be an amazing fight. I think it's going to be an extremely close fight. In fact, I think that most people will be calling for an immediate rematch. That's my immediate guess, but I want you to know that
Can't happen.
I've got Rory. Listen, I've got Rory, and I've got Rory by 4th round TKO. 4th round TKO, baby. Rory McDonald. Have you looked into that man's eyes?
Prediction, by the way.
Huh?
I said the 4th round TKO is your go-to prediction, by the way.
Oh, he's obsessed with saying that. He's obsessed with saying I'm always choosing the 4th round TKO. And you know what? It's partly true. So extra fuck you, Fight Geek, because it is partly true. I do love the 4th round TKO, and everyone can kiss my ass about that.
You like the drama, and you're hoping for a great fight. I feel you.
No, but the truth is, have you ever looked into Rory McDonald's eyes? Because he looks like a serial killer.
He does look.
He's crazy. He's insane. He's not a sane man. He's not a sane man. Can you just imagine if you were like his girlfriend and you cheated on him? Oh my God. Like, literally leave the country.
I'd be more worried about the guy she cheated with.
Yes. Well, he's already dead.
Rory will show up at the door like in a 3-piece suit.
Yeah. And he's wearing the skin of the guy who just cheated on it. He's wearing the skin. He's like, hey, like my 3-piece suit, it's all a bunch of skin. Like, that's the level of crazy.
Buffalo Rory. All right,
yeah.
Moving on.
Buffalo Rory. I love it. All right. Okay.
So who do you got in the co-main? Or did you give me your a 4th round TKO by Rory is what you got? So let's move down to the 4th installment of Rampage Jackson and Wanderlei Silva. Who you got here?
I got Rampage Jackson by decision in a boring and overrated fight. What about you?
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know. I still don't know. Are they fighting at heavyweight? Have they announced this? What are they fighting at?
Yeah, let me 1 second.
I don't think there's any way Rampage Jackson is cutting to 205.
Heavyweight. They are fighting at heavyweight.
So with that said, if Silva's going to be fighting at heavyweight, his cardio is going to be horrid.
Yup.
And
yeah, it will be.
At heavyweight, Rampage will possess the power to knock him out. I'm going to go with 2nd round KO, Rampage Jackson.
I like it. Okay. Very interesting. You know, they, I don't know. I'm a dork. I find this interesting. They have very similar records. Wanderlei, 35 wins, 13 losses. Rampage, 37 wins, 13 losses. Just 2-win difference.
I think you'll notice, and I notice this because I look at a lot of MMA stats.
Yeah.
You can tell where a guy is in his career by his stats. For instance, if you look at a lot of those Pride generation fighters, they're all 35 and 13. Dan Henderson's in that range. There's a lot of guys. Vitor Belfort's like 28 and 14 or something off the top of my head. So you can really tell all those guys share a very similar profile.
I think it's very true.
So it's very important when you're judging the guys from those eras and those Pride eras to really go through their records with a fine-tooth comb and see who beat who when. I'm geeking out on the old Pride era stuff, but I mean, for instance, Wanderlei owned this rivalry early in their careers, and if anybody's not familiar with Silva versus Jackson in Pride 1 and 2, I would say check those out immediately.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm expecting, by the way, I'm expecting a fun fight. I don't think Vanderlei has what it takes
I'm
to
not.
get over the edge.
I mean, Chael versus Silva that's almost unwatchable to me.
Yeah, I mean
And I hate to say that because I like both guys. I mean,
hey, come on, I'm
I
trying to prop this up. Come on, Fight Geek, I'm trying to prop this
right. I
shit
can't
up.
believe it's the co-main. Let's go to a real fight.
Let's go. Okay, because actually the third fight is excuse my language, fucking amazing. And
Yes, it
it's
is, and it's a
yeah.
pick'em fight, so it's fun to talk about.
Yup. Okay, welterweight Grand Prix opening round. Douglas Lima versus Andrei Kreshkov. Who you got, Fight Geek? Break it down, baby.
Well, I've already been on record taking Koreshkov, so I'm going to stick there. Like I said, I think he has an it factor. I don't think he's had the platform to break through, but this is it. I'm going to go with Koreshkov, and I don't think he's going to finish Lima. I think he's going to win a decision.
Okay, very fair. And I just want to be 100% clear. This is a 5-round fight, correct? I believe they
I
are.
don't believe it is.
Wait,
I think it's a
hang on.
three-rounder.
I thought Scott said that the welterweight Grand Prix fights would all be 5 rounds.
All I know is when I go to Wikipedia and when I go to Bellator and when I go to other sites, they always have the bout matchup shuffled and things are not uniform. Bellator needs to tighten that up. I don't know what weight people are fighting at. I don't know the bout orders, so sometimes it's a little confusing.
Yeah, well, they're fighting at 170 pounds. I can tell you that, but it's
Well,
totally.
they're the third fight down, though. They're not going to have a 5-rounder the third fight down.
But Scott, I could have sworn Scott said it was all 5 rounds for the welterweight Grand Prix.
Maybe he did.
Right.
I didn't catch that.
No, you're right. You're right. It's very unclear. You're right. They've got to get that stuff sorted out. It makes picking the fight a little bit harder. But having said all of that, I'm gonna disagree with you again here. And pick Lima by split decision. I think it's going to be a real close fight. I think it's going to be a barn burner. I think it's going to be a dog fight. But I just think Lima is going to scratch by him.
Like I said, it's a pick'em fight. I really can't argue against either side. Like I said, I'm just kind of looking forward to seeing if Koreshkov can get over that hump. They actually are 1-1 at this point, so this is a trilogy match for them.
Yep.
So that familiarity more than likely will be a huge factor. So it may be a lot of feeling out early because they both will respect each other so much.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, expect a kickboxing. I expect a kickboxing style match with Koreshkov outpointing him.
Okay, very fair. I can't wait for it.
Me either.
Moving on to the featherweight feature fight. God, Bellator 206 really is loaded, bro. You weren't kidding. We've got the featherweight feature fight. It's Aaron Pico versus Leandro Higo, who is a title challenger, who is just in title contention. And that's against, of course, the young phenom Aaron Pico. Who do you got in that and why?
Still going to go with Pico, even though this is a razor close fight. First of all, because of the big sway in experience, it's really hard to gauge. And the fact that we saw Pico fall short in his first fight, it's a possibility. We can't act like he hasn't come out and laid an egg. He has performed amazing since then, but there is a chance for him to come out and lay an egg because it's something we have seen. We don't know if it's a one-time thing or if it's a tendency for him. We have no idea yet.
At 155, though. This is a 145.
That's a great point, but at 155, he was not exactly fighting a guy who is as close to an elite as Leandro Higo. Now, he's not elite, but he's been trending that way for the majority of his career.
Yeah, he absolutely has. This is another one of those toss-up fights. What a great fight. I think he could go either way. I have a very strange feeling that Aaron Pico is going to... first of all, I think this is going to be a humongous fight for Aaron Pico's career. I think this is going to be one of those benchmarker fights, right? The sort
coming of age thing.
Yeah, exactly. I think he's going to have to dig very deep. This will not be a first-round finish. I see a late third-round Pico punch sleeping him. That's my guess, but we'll see.
what a great platform for a prospect like Aaron Pico. If you're an up and coming prospect, an elite prospect, and you're looking at how all the organizations in the world are handling their prospects, I would say that Bellator at this point has the best formula to produce a star.
Yep.
The UFC gets all this credit for producing stars, yet 90% of their stars are imports from other organizations. They don't develop talent. Now they're beginning to with the Contender Series, and in the past with some, the Dana White looking for a fight. But when it comes to Bellator and the way they're giving guys fights and giving guys platforms and building their league, and as these guys build their career, Bellator's building as well, so they're growing parallel to each other. It's a good look for Bellator, and it's going to be a good look for Aaron Pico, come 2-3 years from now, when he really comes full circle and he's one of the elite guys in the world, and we will have been seeing him for 5-6 years on these big great cards.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. It's going to be a fantastic fight. So is there anything else you wanted to talk about on Bellator 206, or should we move on to UFC Sao Paulo?
We'll shout out Kerry Melendez. Gilbert Melendez's wife is fighting on the main card. She's fought under the Bellator banner, I believe, 3 times, a couple times over in kickboxing. She's a good-looking prospect for them. Someone they've been building around and someone they've been bringing along.
She's 2-0 MMA, by the way, but you're right. Yeah, kickboxing. Yeah, you're right.
So she's one to watch for sure, and definitely one they're building around. And if she does have success, what is her weight again?
She is 115. She's a strawweight.
Yeah, so you think about the strawweight division there. Potentially she could be someone who fights for a title someday down the road, and they actually have a very solid 115-pound division over there in Bellator. So definitely more interesting fights. That whole main card is worth tuning into and lots to kind of dive into. Yeah,
and just to be clear, I feel like I have to point this out. So it says Kerry Melendez versus Dakota Zimmerman, weight 115 pounds. But then it says female flyweight fight. So it's unclear if it's 115 or if it's at 125. I would think it's at 115. It's listed at 115, but then it says it's a flyweight fight. Yeah. So very confusing.
Guys, going back to what I was saying earlier, when I do my picks and I'm really kind of scouring the web for information, there's a lot of inconsistency regarding Bellator. I don't know if that's on the matchmakers or their marketing department, but they need to tighten that up.
Scott, what you doing, bro? Get this shit organized, dog. Come on. Okay.
We want to make picks, man.
Yeah, seriously. What the fuck? All right. So I'm sure he'll be very concerned.
So that brings us to
UFC Sao Paulo.
Yes.
All right.
Let's go.
Okay. So let's start off with Santos versus Anders. Give me your breakdown. Who you got?
Well, I think as recently as this morning, someone was saying that Anders is like 15 to 20 pounds overweight, and he still has a bunch of weight to cut. So I would say that's not a great formula for success if he's got to cut 15 to 20 more pounds this week in a day or two. So I obviously am leaning Thiago Santos, not because of just the weight cut issues. I think he's a pretty savage MMA fighter. He's shown in the past he can hang with top-level guys. He's moving up to 205. I believe he won his debut at 205, or is this his debut at 205?
That is a great question. 1 second. Look that up.
But yeah, he's a good fighter. I expect his experience. Again, I use the term experience a lot, I know. But experience in MMA is a big deal. That's another reason, looping back to the Conor stuff, when he's talking about Floyd and what he's learned, and he's been around the world, and he has these experiences in combat sports. I do believe he has that over Khabib because of the large-scale platform experience.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. And one thing that actually I only just noticed, to be totally honest, I put 2 and 2 together. I've told you a lot that I've been an Anthony Lionheart-Smith fan for a while, and I have been. I only just now put together that Anthony Smith was the unfortunate loser on the wrong end of his fight with Santos
Yep.
at UFC Fight Night Machida versus Anders, February 3rd, 2018, which was the fight of the night.
And that's Anthony Smith's last loss, I believe.
You're correct. You're absolutely
So
correct.
again, Thiago Santos isn't a guy to really play with. Anders is coming off a quick turnaround, and in that fight Anders had recently, he did take some damage. He was losing that fight early.
Oh yeah.
Another reason, Anders, he's kind of a slow-moving, plodding type fighter, whereas Thiago Santos is very explosive, very sudden, and very violent. So I always lean towards the more sudden, fast-twitch athletes when it comes to striking battles.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a strangely. This is my weird guess, and of course it could be totally wrong. I think it's going to be a weirdly great fight. I think it's going to be a weirdly competitive fight. I have no actual scientific evidence behind this, so if you want me to
Just
explain
a feeling.
Yeah, it's just a feeling. I think that Anders is going to give Santos all he can handle, and I actually do have Anders winning this fight with a fifth round stoppage. You'll like that instead of fourth round. I said fifth round. But it's going to be
Diversifying the portfolio.
Oh
there,
yeah,
huh?
you know, I gotta break it up. You know how it is. No, but it's going to be real close. It's a coin flip fight. I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole in terms of Vegas betting. I think anyone who bets on that has a gambling problem.
Right. Okay, moving on. So we'll cover the co-main. I'm taking Cowboy Oliveira there. I love Cowboy Oliveira. He's a wild fighter, coming off a win over Carlos Condit where he strangled him unconscious and then came back and TKO'd him, I think. Cowboy Oliveira, very underrated guy. He's 18-4. Great record against just a killer division. He's fought at 155 and 170, beat big names, very tough out. So I'm going to lean Cowboy Oliveira there.
What about Carlo Pedersoli? Cemento.
He's not ready for Cowboy Oliveira.
I think we just
In my
lost like 30 followers with my pronunciation of Carlo's name. Sorry about that, everyone.
So do you disagree with that, or you want to move on?
Oh, no, I agree with you completely.
All right. So next fight, Sam Alvey versus. Go ahead and call him off.
Yeah. So it's Sam Alvey versus Naguerera.
Right. So I'm leaving. I'm going to go with Sam Alvey there. Sam Alvey's actually been on a fairly nice run. He's a very difficult, plodding fighter who really stalls out the other guy's offense and kind of just lands. He does have some heavy hands, so a knockout's always possible by Sam Alvey. He's been trained by Dan Henderson for a lot of years and with those guys, so he's tough. Even though I'm not a huge Sam Alvey fan, he is a tough guy. He's got like 30 victories, so I'm going to go with Sam Alvey.
Okay, I want to disagree with you, but I'm just not going to be able to. The truth is, I've got Sam Alvey over Antonio.
So we're moving on. So
we're
next
moving
fight,
on.
You may disagree with this, but I know a lot of people have been commenting about this fighter. I'm going to take Renan Barão here.
Ooh!
I'm going to take him in. He's fighting in Sao Paulo. He's in Brazil. We haven't seen him for a while. He's really been struggling, and I just think percentages say he's due for a solid performance. I'm not saying we're going to get the salsa dancing Renan Barão of 4 years ago, but I think we can get a proficient fighter who can come out there and get a victory, especially in his home country.
Okay, very fair. You know what? You're right. I am going to disagree with you. I'm going to take Andre Ewell. Am I saying that right?
I believe you are.
Okay, yeah. I'm going to take Andre Ewell. I think he's a little bit of a under-respected fighter. I think that shows on the UFC website as he is just a shadow man. There is no picture of him whatsoever.
Well, he's a new import, I believe, right?
Yeah, he is. He absolutely is. But he's a man of the US of A with a TKO rate of 54%, submission 31%. And 13-4 record is solid. I see him beating Barão, but it's going to be a great fight.
You see a 13-4 guy beating a guy who's what, 31-6?
36-6.
Ooh, 36-6. All right, I just want that on the record.
Yep, we got it on the record. I got Andre.
Right. So let's move on to the next one.
So,
Randa Marcos, or am I missing one? Yeah, Randa Marcos versus who?
We're doing Randa Marcos, number 13, Quiet Storm, versus Marina Rodriguez, 9-0.
And I went with Randa Marcos on this one. If you look at her record, she literally wins one, loses one, wins one, loses one throughout her whole career. So she's lost her last one, which percentages say she's going to win the next one, but that's not exactly why I'm picking her. Randa Marcos has shown a lot of toughness since she's been in the UFC. She has lost fights, but she's been in every fight, and she is extremely tough. I believe the other girl is making her debut, and I wasn't familiar with a lot of her opponents. So for that reason, I can't verify exactly her level of competition. So I'm going to lean towards the person I know in Randa Marcos, who I know is very tough and has been training and fighting UFC fighters for the last, I think, 4 to 5 years.
Yeah, very fair. The truth is I don't feel great about this fight. I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole in terms of gambling. But listen, I'm going to break again with you. I'm going to say Marina Rodriguez. She's 9-0 for a reason. She's got a 40% KO TKO finishing percentage. She's got a 10% submission percentage, and she's got a significant or semi-significant reach advantage. Ronda has 63-inch reach, and Marina Rodriguez has a 67-inch reach. So I think there's that 4 inches could make all the difference.
Can you see Randa's record?
I can 8-7.
Go down. Are you on her wiki page at all, or?
I'm on her UFC page. I can jump.
Okay, because she was on the UFC Ultimate Fighter as well, and I believe
I knew that.
She beat Felice Herrig and another credible fighter, and lost the actual finale to Rose Namajunas. I could be wrong. I don't know.
Didn't Rose lose her finale to?
Yeah, she lost to Carla Esparza, so I'm wrong there. Maybe she lost in the second round to Rose. Either way, I've seen her a lot, and she's very tough. So we can agree to disagree on that one.
Absolutely.
We'll
That's why this is
move
the split
on to
decision.
the next one. I'm going to call Charles Oliveira here. Charles Oliveira is just a guy I respect. His jiu-jitsu is insane. He came onto the scene young with a great record. He's had a couple odd fights. He lost one fight where his rib broke or his collarbone broke or something like that. But for the most part, he's extremely dangerous jiu-jitsu guy. He's still developing. How old is he? He's like 26?
Let's see. It doesn't list his age here. Charles Oliveira. He's got to be older than that. No? I'll be shocked.
I thought he came onto the scene at like 21 or 23 or something like that.
You could. That sounds right. He is. He's 28. Wow, he is
So
young.
he's just entering his prime.
That's crazy, bro.
For the record, I believe your prime is like 28 to 33.
Yeah, no, for sure.
That might not be my opinion. I think that's a statistic.
Yeah, I think that's well respected and for sure. So, look, this is the part where I'm very tempted to choose against you and say you're wrong. I think Oliveira will lose. But I'm not going to take the bait on this one. I actually agree with you. I think his opponent doesn't have much for him, and I think that Charles wins it.
Nice. So the next one is actually an interesting fight. It's Trinaldo versus Evan Dunham, correct? And Evan Dunham has announced that this is his retirement fight, and he's going to be fighting a guy, a grinder, a tough grinder who it's really hard to look good against in his final fight. So this is interesting.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Trinaldo in Brazil. I know Dunham has probably, throughout his career, been the more dynamic fighter, but Evan Dunham's a little older now. I believe he lost his last fight to Aubin Mercier. So Aubin Mercier is more of a wrestling-based kind of fighter, and Trinaldo's that kind of fighter exactly. He's a come forward, get on top of you, and grind you out type of fighter. So because of that common connection, I'm going to lean Francisco Trinaldo beating Evan Dunham in his retirement fight via decision.
Woo! All right, I like it. Well, listen, if there's one thing that helps me decide fights when I'm unsure about them, it is how much does a tattoo on someone's body look like a Final Fantasy VII final boss character from the video game? And the answer is Evan Dunham's tattoo looks a lot like a Final Fantasy VII boss. And so
I don't know what you're talking about.
you're not supposed to. No one is. I'm a fucking nerd.
I'm a different kind of geek.
I'm a nerd here. But the point is, Evan Dunham has a very silly tattoo, and for whatever reason, I'm going to choose him because of that, and I stand by that decision. It's very professional. It's very mature. I've got Dunham.
Okay. So moving on.
Moving
Next
on.
fight. I don't know if you remember this guy off the Contender Series, but I believe he fought 2 seasons in a row. His name is Ryan Spann.
Why is his nickname Superman instead of Spick and Span? That's what I want to know.
I couldn't tell you. But
Someone should have
I
told
do
him.
think he has a fair amount of potential based on what I've seen on the Contender Series. I don't know his exact size, but he is a big guy for that weight class. And I expect him to have a nice showing and be one to watch moving forward, especially in a shallow 205 division.
Absolutely. I think that Ryan Spick and Span is going to win. I've got him over Luis Enrique. Is that how you say it? I don't know.
I would not know. So
Okay.
Next one, moving on. This is one of my favorites to watch. Not necessarily the most technically proficient fighter on the roster, but the Gift King, Chase Sherman. Taking Chase Sherman in this matchup.
Oh, God.
I think he's due. He's fought some tough guys. His defense has been an issue in the past. He likes to get into slugfest. He has an amazing chin, but it's just not a great recipe for success in the UFC. I believe he will mature, have a little bit more of a game plan, and I think he'll probably get a victory here in Sao Paulo. I'm a big Chase Sherman fan. Like I said, he's a very fun guy to watch.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you as much as I want to root for Mr. Augusto Sake from Brazil, 10-1-1.
Former Bellator fighter.
Feller, yes, thank you. Of course, I knew that. I was just testing you, Fight Geek.
Right.
But I do agree that Chase is going to win this one. The Vanilla Gorilla. Thanks for stealing Darren Till's chosen nickname, you motherfucker. I'll never quite forgive him for that, but I'm still going to choose him on this fight.
Nice. Okay, it brings us to another interesting fight. It's Sergio Moraes versus... I forgot. Go ahead.
Yep, it's Sergio Moraes versus Ben Killer B. Saunders.
Yeah, Ben Killer B. Saunders. Yes. Interesting fight. Killer B. Saunders has been around for a long time. He's kind of an OG of the game. Tall,
Yeah, he is.
Thai boxer, kickboxer. He's had his fair share of knockouts. He's taken his fair share of knockouts. He's an exciting guy to watch. But I think Sergio Moraes is a little closer to his prime, a little more well-rounded, and I'm taking Sergio Moraes in this matchup.
All right, so I'm going to be real weird here. I'm taking Ben Saunders. I don't have a huge technical reason to do that. It's just a gut feeling. He's got a big reach advantage, 72 inches for Moraes, 77 for Saunders. And I don't know, I can't put it into words, but give me Killer B. Give me Killer B,
Fair.
baby.
Fair enough.
And we don't have to go through them all, I don't know.
Oh, we're going through them all, man.
Oh, all right, good.
We're going to give the people what they want. They want some
Okay, good.
in-depth,
People,
hard-hitting,
sit tight.
mixed martial arts content. That's what they're going to get on our show,
Good.
Phil. So I am taking Jillian Robertson in this matchup. There's really not a lot of breakdown. I just remember her last performance. She was very impressive. And based on that fact, I think her trajectory is going up, and she's one to watch for me. So I'm taking her.
So, I'm taking Robertson as well. But before we move on, I want to say that Maria Bueno Silva's nickname is Shitera. Shitera.
Is that 2 words or 2 syllables?
No, it's 1 word. So that is inviting a lot of mock. And if I was her agent, I'd tell her, hey, Maria, listen, let's
She's
come
not
down.
American.
Let's talk. Let's maybe work out a new nickname. Because, if she has a bad performance, you could say it's Shitera.
It's not exactly marketable.
No.
Let's.
No, it's not.
So another retirement fight. I may have been wrong about the Dunham retirement fight. I know there's some retirements going on.
It's
I
fine.
know Thales Leites has announced that this is his last match, correct?
Yes.
Have you heard that?
Yes, against Hector Lombard.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
But I believe Hector Lombard's on like a 5-fight losing streak, correct?
I believe he is. It's not a good one.
And the fact that Thales Leites is actually a very well-rounded guy who was a big prospect back in the day. He's fought everyone from Anderson Silva to Michael Bisping. So I'm going to lean Thales Leites in his retirement fight versus a Hector Lombard on a 5-fight losing streak.
Yeah, and by the way, just checked. You're absolutely right. Hector Lombard is on a 5-fight losing streak, and actually a 6-fight losing streak if you count draws. So it's been over 6 fights since he's won. And the truth is, look, again, this is a part where I'm supposed to pick Hector. Nope, I've got Leites as well.
Can't do it.
I can't do it, man. I can't do it.
It makes you wonder. There's always those rumors that when Hector Lombard came over from, was it Strikeforce?
Yeah.
It was Bellator. He was the Bellator champion, correct? Yeah, and they signed him to a huge deal. Is he still getting paid off that deal? How's he on a 5-fight losing streak? Does this guy guaranteed $300,000 a fight or something for 10 fights? It's like I have no idea. They want to cut Yair Rodriguez after 1 fight, but Hector Lombard is on a 5-fight losing streak. He lost to Johnny Hendricks, who is in the bare knuckle fighting league, and this guy's still fighting in the UFC. Can someone explain this to me?
Do not say anything bad about bare knuckle fighting. My good friend Beck Rawlings is the champion of that. She is a great friend of mine. How dare you, sir? She is an elite fighter.
I'm gonna leave that one alone.
Yeah, we're gonna leave that one alone. You guys know what I'm talking about if you follow.
You want to know more? Just hop on Phil's Twitter.
Just follow at Phil the MMA, dude. You want to learn more about the Beck Rawlings fun stuff. But shout out Beck, love you, girl.
All right, so back to Lombard, Leites. You agree?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's time to. I mean, unless you've got more to say about Sao Paulo, it's time to move on to T. Woodley's
I always got
rap.
more to say, but I think it's safe to move on, my friend.
Is there something?
I definitely think we should move on.
Okay,
I think that's plenty of coverage.
I agree. Okay, so T. Woodley's rap. What'd you think?
I wanted to like it so bad, man. With that.
Did you? Did you want to like it?
I did want to like it so bad, and let me give you the foreground for why I wanted to like it.
Okay.
So T. Wood is obviously, he has mixed reactions when it comes to the fan base, Yeah. Some people do like him, some people respect him, but a lot of people like to hate on him because of the rhetoric he spews.
Yup.
So he's fighting at an all-time elite level. His fighting is beyond reproach. His fighting career is beyond reproach. So when you're criticizing Tyron Woodley, you're criticizing him, the person.
Yes.
Right. So that has been the case up until this point. So finally he gets over the hump a little bit with this till. And I felt it. I can feel the MMA community on Twitter and on social media. We all have the same excitement. We all have the same reactions at the same time. It's like you can feel the swell. For instance, the press conference today. From about 11 a.m. my time, the whole community was buzzing about this press conference all day. We were all about it.
Oh, yeah.
So, for instance, Tyron Woodley was on top of the world for 48 to 72 hours. This happens when we see a great performance on Saturday. We see it Saturday, we watch the post-fight conferences, and we drink it up, and then Sunday it's in our memory. Then Monday we get to Ariel's show, and we hear what they had to say about the weekend, and these guys are on the top or on the bottom for 3, 4, 5 days, and then we move on to the next weekend. You staying with me?
I'm staying with you, bro.
So Dana comes out and basically says that the UFC has promoted Tyron Woodley perfectly fine and actually pushed him, but Tyron Woodley always shoots himself in the foot. So Tyron Woodley goes on to have this amazing mixed martial arts performance against Darren Till and wins and is on top of the world. And what does he do? He uses that spotlight to promote a rap song. Now, he indirectly proves Dana's point. He puts out a rap song that there was a fair amount of buzz to hear the rap song on my end based on the fact that Tyron Woodley has just had an amazing performance in MMA. I know it's kind of a weird connection, but he's pushing it, I'm buying it. Long story short, I have never been in more admiration of Tyron Woodley from his performance when I went and checked out his rap song and obviously the raps fell a little flat for me. It wasn't something that I was feeling, and I feel like he proved Dana's point and shot himself and his brand in the foot while he was at his, well, he had the spotlight on him per se. So I was a little long-winded. The rap wasn't great, and I think in the process he proved Dana White right. So it was a L as far as I'm concerned with the Tyron Woodley rap. But the mixed martial arts and his career is beyond reproach.
Yeah, no, and I agree with just about all that. The one thing I'll say about the rap is, look, I'm not going to say it was good. I'm not going to say it was half decent. It was bad. Let's be honest. I mean, we both listened to rap. I mean, it was not good. But
that's just because we were listening to Eminem right beforehand.
Yeah, well, exactly. Well, we don't want to start up another.
Yeah, we won't get into that. But maybe that was the problem, that he dropped at the same time M was going wild.
Yeah. The one thing I'll say about Woodley, though, to give him credit, is that the one thing that he can use as a shield is the fact that Wiz Khalifa's on the song, right? I mean, I do think that.
Is he though? I mean that ain't a Wiz Khalifa track.
I mean, look. Honestly, I heard the song. It was bad, but it wasn't bad enough to be humiliating.
To be honest with you, I was bouncing to it a little. I had my head
it wasn't
bouncing,
that bad.
But the raps, though. I mean, the raps.
I mean, yeah, he sounded like a 7th grader doing a social studies project.
It just wasn't authentic. It didn't feel like.
Yo,
so, all right. We don't have to go any more into that. We don't. I just don't like when a guy rhymes the same word 9 times in a row on his bars. But again,
I'm gonna beat you.
I'm a fight analyst. What do I know?
I heat
with
you.
That being said, had one more thing I wanted to touch base with you, and that was the 25 Years in Short documentaries that Fight Pass have been putting out. Have you checked any of these out?
Yes. Okay, so truth is, guys, Fight Geek told me to check out the Lion's Den, one of the first ones that had just been released by the UFC for the 25-year anniversary. I wasn't that excited for it. I was like thinking, oh, it's gonna suck. And the truth is, guess what? I was fucking wrong. It was amazing. That's the truth.
Yeah, I definitely recommend checking out that series if you guys have Fight Pass. The first one, I think they were previewing it before the Conor press conference where the creators of the Octagon. The second one is the Lion's Den, the story of the first MMA team, which was built by Ken Shamrock, the Lion's Den. And then I think they have another one coming out with Matt Hughes documenting some of what has happened to him since his accident and all that. So if you guys have time, definitely want to say check that out. Definitely worth your time. I'm a big geek. I love to research the history of the UFC, the history of combat sports, and kind of dive into that. And I definitely recommend that.
Oh yeah, I can't wait for the Matt Hughes one. But I think that's it for today. So Fikey, take us away with the outro, baby.
Yeah, that's it. Covered a lot today. Glad you guys checked it out. You can always follow us at Split Podcast. That's the Twitter handle for the podcast. I'm at The Fight Geek MMA, and he is Phil the MMA Dude. You can find us. This is episode 3. We'll be back in a couple weeks, giving you the results of the cards and looking forward to October 6th some more. There's definitely going to be more breakdown on this Conor Khabib stuff. Don't want to give you our final predictions just yet.
But we're going to have picks. We are going to have
picks, but we're going to make you wait and tune into the next episode for that. So thanks for tuning in. We appreciate all of you guys, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys. Peace.